Welcome to the latest edition of the Hudson County Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Haig, and as always, the Hudson County Sports Podcast is brought to you by Stan Sports Center, located at 528 Washington Street in Hoboken. The telephone number there is 201-798-4466. And with me today is my special guest, is a Jersey City product who got a chance to get out and explore life a little bit as a basketball player. Going to play major college basketball at Jacksonville University. But then he came back home and he's made his life for the last 30 years as a baseball coach. And he is now the head baseball coach of one of the top programs in the state of New Jersey at St. Peter's Prep. And it's my good friend, Pat Laguerre. Pat, how are you doing today, buddy? Thanks so very much for being on the show. And Pat, all right, take us through your life a little bit. And where did you grow up? And what was it like growing up where you lived?
Well, originally, I was born in Haiti. My parents migrated to the United States when they actually came to the country before I did. My sister and I came here around about 4 or 5 years old. Grew up in Jersey City. Grew up on Summer Avenue. That was the first place where we lived in the Ringgold section. But I still went to school at St. Aidan.
Okay. Where'd you live in the Greenville section?
I lived on Eastern Parkway.
Okay.
My mother just recently moved about 5 years ago, and now she lives up on Garfield.
See, we were neighbors at one time. How about that? See?
At one time,
We were neighbors. I would have never. See, you learn something new every time I do one of these shows. I learned something new, and that was the fact that you and I were once neighbors. All right, so once neighbors.
And you know, we got that rich tradition up there in the Greenville section.
Absolutely, big time. So, all right.
I grew up there for quite a bit.
So what? How did you? So you went to St. Aidan's from the Greenville section. That must have been a tough commute, or did you get a ride every day?
No, my dad drove me every morning.
Okay.
But I caught the bus from time to time. That was part of the independent experience. A lot of my friends in that area when I left home to St. Mary's once I left St. Aidan. So I had made a lot of friends. So, you know, going to school on a bus, even though I was relatively young, wasn't something I could do. But my dad generally took me and my sister to school.
Okay. All right. Now, what was it like growing up in your neighborhood? Were every sport being played, and did you play like the three sports like everybody else: basketball, baseball, football?
Well, believe it or not, even though I lived in the Greenville section, my buddies were still in the area of Liberty Square. So I pretty much hung out there. I hung out at St. Joe's. I hung out in the Heights.
Okay.
I really didn't hang out in Greenville because I spent so much time in the area by St. Aidan that was pretty much where, you know, most of all my friends were based.
Okay. So did you play basketball in the St. Joe's courtyard?
Oh yeah, we used to section and summer leagues.
All right. So then you had to learn how to use that.
I was pretty good. So the older guys always recruited me, and I played quite a bit on those summer league teams that the older guys in the neighborhood put together. And we played quite a bit. St. Joe's had a league.
Sure did.
And every place we had a league, summer basketball league somewhere.
Gary Cankrow used to run that league up there, right? And Stymie, Ronnie Stymie was up there. What was I going to say? But did you learn playing on the courts at St. Joe's to how to use the backboard the right way? Because that was the toughest rim to shoot on, and if you shot it high off that backboard, you'd hear it go pink, and then it would fall through the metal nets, and then you knew you made a right shot. So I mean, did you learn a lot playing basketball in the St. Joe's courtyard?
I tell you what, I learned how to play basketball in St. Aidan's gym. Father Kahini got me involved in basketball when I was really young. I didn't have a clue on what I was doing.
Okay.
I fell in love with it. I played in the courtyard every day, schoolyard every day, and then, you know, I began to migrate my game up into St. Joe's, and then we go up to PS 27, we go to Pershing Field. We really, you know, I'd really be up and down the city looking for a game all day.
Okay. And then and talk a little bit about, did you play all three sports growing up? Did you play football too as well? Did you play, and obviously you played baseball, correct?
Yeah, believe it or not, my mother wouldn't let me play football too. She was
Okay.
definitely afraid that I would get hurt. So I never ever played a game of organized football. We
Wow.
played street football, of course, but I never played that. But I played a lot of baseball. Uh, Funny story, my buddies were playing down at Westside Little League, and I was 12 at the time. I really didn't know much about baseball, so some basketball. And I had a buddy named Billy Davis. Billy Davis was pretty good, and I always thought I was better than Billy Davis. So Billy Davis tells me, "Hi, I'm going to probably be the first pick in the draft." They had a little league draft, and I'm like, "Wow, if you're the first pick in the draft, I'm probably going to be like traded for or something like that." So I go try out, and he picked Billy Davis. I wound up getting picked like third or fourth. I get picked by Mike Hogan's team, and I had a pretty good little league career, believe it or not.
Oh, Mike Hogan was at first a coach in Little League, in Westside Little League.
Mike was my first organized coach in Little League baseball as well as grammar school basketball.
I'll be
He was
darned.
the coach of my Little League team, and he was also a assistant coach on my grammar school basketball team.
Wow. See, there's something else you learn new every day, right? All right. And so, what was he like to play for as a Little League coach?
Well, not much has changed.
Okay.
He was extreme at times, you know what I mean? But the one thing I have to give him a lot of credit is that he allowed me to really grow and become the player that I wanted to be. Both, on the field, off the field, basketball, baseball. He really opened my eyes to a lot of things that were possible. He really allowed me to dream because he took me to a lot of games. Our team was pretty close, tight knit. These guys are still really good friends of mine, so we stayed together, for so long. And I really give him a lot of credit, by him taking an interest and really, taking me to places and really opening my eyes and really allowing me to dream, and that's what really motivated me to continue to play because I realized that I was okay. I was pretty good at it, and I wanted to use that as a means to travel and play in all these arenas that I've seen on TV. And luckily for me, I got an opportunity to do that.
Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about. Were you at all recruited to go to St. Mary's? How did that all come about? You ended up at St. Mary's.
Well, Mr. Ford was the St. Mary's coach at the time.
Okay.
And, he
He was still there. He was still there when you went.
No, that was his last year, believe it or not.
Okay.
He was getting ready to move on, and I'll be honest with you, and I tell people all the time, there's no way I was going to go to St. Mary's if he was still the coach, because I used to watch his practices and sit in the schoolyard, and I used to really think he was out of his mind.
You guess what? You were right. You were right.
Yeah, of course I was right.
Yeah.
So, I was really destined to go play for Mr. Kilty down at St. Al.
Okay.
The place where all my buddies were going, and I was determined to go. And, I have to give Mr. Ford credit. He went to my mother, and there's no way this kid's going to St. Al. And my mother really trusted him. And then, Mike Hogan got hired, actually. He actually was going to take over for Bob, so it made the transition a lot smoother. It allowed for me to be comfortable with my decision of going to St. Mary's. Disappointing my buddies over at St. Al. But of course, Mike being Mike, he lasted 1 year. So he was out.
All right. All right. Now, what at that point in your life? Okay. What sport did you like better? Were you more of a baseball fan, or were you more of a basketball fan? And better yet, what sport did you feel like you were better at?
I'll tell you what, I was a basketball junkie. I was a person who was a sponge. I always grew up around older guys. I always picked their brains. I remember still to this day the guys who really, took it to me and taught me a lesson, which was probably the best experience. I remember running up in St. Joe's and playing a Mooney Ryan and really coming away and saying, wow, there's some really good basketball players in Hudson County. sport, and I was pretty good at that as well. But I always, knew that basketball was going to be my calling in terms of playing. And, once I got to high school, I got an opportunity as a freshman to play varsity right away, and we were pretty successful. And, Mr. Ford started introducing me to camps down in North Carolina, met Dean Smith, Michael Corrin. I became a big North Carolina fan. And all of those things really helped shape and really motivated me to pursue basketball as my career endeavor. But, I always had the love for baseball. I've been a huge Met fan since I was a kid.
Bravo, bravo, bravo.
I just felt that basketball was always going to be, my ticket to, achieving some of the things that I always set out to achieve.
Okay. So, but do you know? Did you understand what sport you were better at as a kid growing up? Were you a better baseball player or a better basketball player?
I would say I was a better basketball player.
Okay.
Just because I played more basketball. Baseball, was more seasonal.
Okay.
Basketball was still year round. I mean, if I had a baseball game, I play baseball, and I, go on some shorts and I go play basketball. So.
Okay.
I just played basketball every day, and baseball was more seasonal for me. Summertime, occasionally the fall. But I loved it, you know what I mean? My grammar school buddies, I remember CYO and all those great memories playing CYO baseball, CYO basketball. Those are really fun and exciting times, So while I was, I leaned towards basketball, I put in the amount of work that would be to play baseball.
Okay. All right. So talk first then a little bit about your basketball prowess, and you end up going to St. Mary's, and you got to play for the immortal Tommy Lalicato, Tommy Bell. And what was it like to be able to play for him and to play varsity basketball at a very young age? And you were, correct me if I'm wrong, you weren't even 14 yet when you were playing varsity basketball, right?
I was about 14 at the time.
You were? Oh, okay. All right. I thought you were younger. Oh, who was it? Kuchar was the head coach?
He was Kevin Stinson.
Oh, Kevin Stinson was the coach. Okay, all right. I apologize.
So, Tommy Lalicato was really the brains behind the operation. He really was. He really taught me about the fundamentals of the game. Really got me to think the game a little bit more. Really worked on some of the skills that I needed to improve on. And he identified that really early, and I was a smart, like I said earlier. And he really helped me in my maturity and my growth as a basketball player. And I remember he had left to go to Hudson Catholic for a year.
Yep.
He clearly had a negative impact on my development at the time. I have to look back and say because I just didn't play at the level that I thought I could play. And it came back, and things came pretty much back to normal. And I really enjoyed playing for him. And I really appreciated and respected his guidance and his knowledge, and he really helped in my development into becoming the player that I wanted to be.
Yeah, and you've enjoyed a very special relationship with Tommy over the years, haven't you?
Yes, Tommy is. There's no way that I'm where I'm at today without the help of Tommy Lalicato. The people at St. Mary's, really, saw something in me that they thought could really be productive and helpful. And, all the things that I never thought of myself, they pretty much instilled that in me. That's why I'm, I'm so grateful and for what St. Mary's did for me and what I was able to provide so many of the St. Mary's students that I was fortunate and lucky to have coached and met. But Tommy and the rest of them, Jack and Carrie, they really helped shape the mold, and there's no way I would be who I am today without their guidance. That's for sure.
Beautiful. All right. So your basketball career starts to flourish, and by the time, and you said that, boy oh boy, there's a lot of talent in Hudson County, and I just pulled up just the other day. Somebody sent it to me on Facebook about the all-county team when you were, I think, a junior, and you made second team all-county, and the first team all-county team was unbelievable. I mean, it was, David Rivers and Leroy Wilson and Darrell Wilson and Jared King. No, Jared King is it? No, maybe I'm getting it wrong. But anyway, that was a very, very talented team. Did you feel like, say, by the time you were a junior, that your career was going in the right direction and that you were going to be a major college player?
Well, I tell you what, I didn't know if I was going to be a major college player, but I knew I could play in college. What level? I mean, that was yet to be determined. But I was introduced to great players coming from CYO. You know what it was like. What CYO was like.
Yep.
It was great basketball. It was tremendous talent, whether it was South Hudson or North Hudson. I can name you great players. Both parts of Hudson County. All parts of Hudson County. And what was great is we developed relationships with these guys. Even though we competed hard against St. Anthony's and those guys, but I knew I wasn't good as David Rivers, but I knew that I needed to work hard to be as good. And if you were as good as David Rivers, that was nothing to
nothing to sneeze at. Yeah.
He was a fat player as well, and Kenny and I had a lot of battles from the time we were in grammar school, and I had nothing but respect for the entire Wilson family. So it was, again, growing up and watching these guys play, and I always, recognized guys who were good on their, in particular, high school. Like I mentioned, Mooney Ryan was someone I really looked up to. He was just such a great athlete at the time.
Well, that's a scary thought, though, Pat. Seriously, to look up to Mooney Ryan is a really scary thought. And I hope he's listening, because I'll tell him right directly to his face.
Listen, man, I see Mooney once or twice a year. I didn't go back, but Mooney was he was a fabulous athlete. And growing up, I used to watch Hudson Catholic basketball games. I was friends with yesterday.
Yep.
So I was always around that culture of really good basketball players, and I knew that hanging around them, playing with them would only help me get better and help me accomplish what I always wanted to accomplish. And luckily for me, all those things did pan out. And when I got to a point in my junior year, I realized I could play. I could play at Division I.
Okay.
But of course, you still experience the heartache. I wanted to go to Seton Hall. They told me I wasn't good enough. So,
Oh, did you want to go to Seton Hall?
I wanted to go to Seton Hall really bad.
Wow.
But I always remember the assistant coach, last name is Carroll.
Yep. Kevin, he ended up being the head coach of the Boston Celtics for a while, John Carroll. I mean, seriously, yeah.
Reputation.
Yep.
But I remember him telling me at the time that I wasn't good enough to play, and I don't think they had won a Big East League game in like a year and a half. So I was like pretty disappointed, but I remember Bob had some really good contacts. Bob Wenzel was one of them.
Wow.
Down in Jacksonville, and we also had a connection down in Old Dominion, and I happened to go to a game between Jacksonville and Old Dominion, and I was introduced to Bob Wenzel, and next thing I know, he's flying me out, and I fell in love with the place. I fell in love with him. I thought he was great, and the rest is history.
Okay. Was there any thought at all, because I know they recruited you, was there any thought at all of going up the hill to St. Peter's? And I know they wanted you bad, but was that, did you always have the goal of want to get out?
Yeah, my goal was always to go away. It was always a dream of mine. I loved St. Peter's. I used to go to. I remember going to their games when the scores were like 25-23. I remember I met him one night. He was what was his name?
Bob Duquette. Yeah.
Yes, Bob Duquette. That's Bob Duquette. And I remember I asked him. I said, Coach, how do you get people to come and play for you playing this style? This is like powerful.
Yeah.
And he would say, listen, Pat, all I'm going to tell you is you got to do what's best for your team to win. And we know that we can't go up and down and beat anybody by playing that up and down style. I said, well, I'll tell you what, I won't be trying to go to your school. That's the style. But I used to go up there and watch those guys play, and I was always a fan, and I always rooted for them. But my goal was always to get out of the city, try to experience new things, and, just broaden my horizons there.
Okay. What was it like for you, Pat, when you came home as a junior in high school and you saw the first letter from a college that said, "Dear Pat, we would like to offer you a scholarship to come to blank." And do you remember what school it was that offered you the first scholarship? And what was that like? Did you say to yourself, "Oh my God, is this real? You know, like, is this really happening?"
Yeah, well, the first school I remember that offered me was Ryder.
Okay.
Freddie Hill was the assistant coach at the time.
Yep.
And I remember taking a visit. What was his name? Jerome Nicholson.
Yes.
Actually, the young man who took me out. He was a Jersey City guy.
Went to prep. Right.
Yeah. And I hit it off really well with Jerome. Had a good time. But I really wanted to get out of the state. I thought that, I thought I could do a little bit better. So I bet on myself a little bit. And then the scholarships started to come. I got an offer from St. Joe, VA. And then East Carolina flew me out. And then Jacksonville came. And, it really came down to East Carolina and Jacksonville. And I remember a good friend of mine, Jeff Kelly from Columbia.
Yep.
We both played AAU, and we were talking one day, and he said, I'm going to commit to East Carolina. And once he said that, I said, wow, this made my decision a little bit easier because I know Jeff is really good. I'm going to East Carolina to compete against you. So it's a great feeling. Anytime you're wanted by somebody, it's always something good. So it was a lot of the hard work has paid off, and most importantly, we weren't, financially we weren't too well off. So it was a burden that my parents didn't have to worry about in terms of paying college tuition or me having to stick out long.
Okay. But the whole idea of getting that letter in your hands must have been a huge, great feeling, like saying, "Wow, is this really happening to me?" Like that type of thing. That's when it became real, right? The first letters.
Yeah, it became real that you really were being noticed and that people wanted you to be a part of their program. So it was, those letters were great to see. It was even better when when they contacted you and had the conversation. You had to be home visit. They had an opportunity to give their presentation, speak to your parents. That's when I knew everything was for real, that my life was going to change somewhat, and I needed to be ready for that.
Okay. All right. What was it? You got to tell because you're the first person I've had on from St. Mary's that played basketball. What was it like to play in that gym on a regular basis, where there was no 3-point line in the corners, so you couldn't shoot a three? But then again, you didn't have a three when you were playing high school, right? There was no 3-point field goal.
I tell guys all the time, this 3-point I probably was supposed to have.
Yeah, see, I figured as much. Yeah. That legend grows and grows, right? See?
No, it's going to be 3,000 by next week.
Without question. Yeah. You can, because it's the only way you stay young, Pat. That's the only way,
Of course. But at those gyms, every court, home court in the city had some type of an advantage. You know what I mean? And that was our advantage. It was great. It was a great atmosphere. Yeah, it was small, but you know what? We really took advantage of the fact that it was small. We could do a lot of different things, and it took our opponents maybe a quarter or two to adjust. And by that time, we built a good 10-point lead or something like that.
Right.
It was just so exciting because we packed the place nearly for the most part.
Always, and that was one of the reasons why the games used to be held at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because they didn't want the student body to leave the building, so they would just come out of class and go right to the gym. So that's why a lot of your games were at 4, not at 7.
Yeah, exactly. We used to, we have all the kids there, mostly students. But it was a great place to play. The atmosphere was very intense.
Well, unlike any other place, you could, and you couldn't hear yourself think. You couldn't. You really. It was so loud you couldn't hear yourself think when you were in that building. It was.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like we had our little niche in the city. Everybody had their own, advantage and had their own little quirkiness and whatever gym that they had, and ours was unique. Barton. We were going to play Del Barton at state tournament. It's supposed to be held at Jersey City. They made it. And I remember Don Crickey's son played at the time.
That's right, Galen. Yeah.
Don Crickey's son played at the time, and Del Barton petitioned the state to move the game because our court did not meet the specifications of a basketball court. And they moved the game. And ironically, they moved the game to St. Peter's, and we blasted Del Barton. I remember Coach Laguerre saying to us, "Oh, okay, so this is the way they want to do it. So let's give them something to remember." And I remember beating pretty good for like 30, 40. And all of a sudden, you hear Cricky screaming from the bleachers, "Show some class, Laguerre! Show some."
Really?
Yeah. So we tell them, and the rest of us kind of gave him a little Hudson County,
Salute. Yeah.
So they got a pretty good taste. It didn't matter. The court had no bearing on what the outcome was going to be, but it was the first time we really, as players, really got the feeling that this court wasn't normal. It wasn't an ideal court. It was always something that we relished and looked forward to. But the bigger scheme of things, it really wasn't ideal to play on such a small court.
All right, talk a little bit about the guys you played with at St. Mary's and how much fun was that? And obviously you were not the only talented player there. Talk a little bit about some of the other guys that you played with.
Well, I played with Kenny Coleman. Kenny was a great two-way player. Speaking of baseball, Kenny was a fabulous baseball player, wanted to play baseball.
And was Michael Jordan's teammate. How about that? Yeah, that's...
In Alabama.
Yeah.
Kenny was a two-way player. Kenny was a fabulous two-way player. I played with Tyrell Hampton, who in Little League was probably one of the best Little League players we ever saw because he was about 6'3". I don't think he grew an inch when he got to high school.
Not at all. Not at all.
He was imposing when he was in Little League. He was 10 or 11 years old. He was the same size. Hard. And he was a very good basketball player. Played with Richard Lee Park. He was a great addition to our program. He wound up hitting some of the biggest shots in Mary's history when we won our county championship. He sat in that left corner at St. Peter's College, and he made jumper after jumper against Emerson that night, and we never would have been able to achieve that county championship without him. He was great. I had good friends, James Ansley, Rich Jackson. So those guys were not only good friends of mine, they were also good basketball players. They took the game seriously. The one thing we loved to play with one another. We competed really, really hard, and we enjoyed a lot of success, and I had a lot of fun.
And more importantly, too, Pat, you played on some St. Mary's teams that the guys were all just really good guys. You all fought for each other. You played hard for each other. And there was no egos involved. There were nobody had a big ego. Nobody had the idea that they were a superstar. And did that bode well with how well you guys did in the county in the state playoffs?
Well, we all made each other check our egos at the door.
Okay.
We were a group that liked to have fun. We always made fun of each other all the time. So we always didn't want to put ourselves in a situation where we'd be the object of scrutiny like that. But we definitely held each other accountable. We made sure that everybody's ego was checked at the door. We understood where everybody stood on their roles, they accepted their roles, and we really bought into the fact that if everybody did what they were supposed to do, we would find ourselves in a position where we would be one of the last teams standing, and that was always our goal to make a strong impact at the end of the year, whether it was the county tournament or the state tournament. Those were all our goals, and we all bought in. We had really good guidance from Tom Malicado and Kevin Stinson, but we as players and friends, oftentimes not, it would always also extend off, outside of the basketball court where we hung out a lot with one another. So, that chemistry was built on friendship and respect, and it was really successful.
Okay, and you guys won the county championship in 1985. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, so and that was the first. Oh no, St. Mary's probably won the county. No, I don't think so. Were you the guys the first ever county champions from St. Mary's?
I'm not sure. I want to say Luke Griffin and those guys.
Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking, and I don't think they did. Now that it just came in my head, I don't think they did. I think that was That was the Jackie Galloon era, when Luke Griffin was there, and I think that they didn't win the South Hudson back then. That was, you know, St. Anthony's was still in the county, but they put St. Anthony's in the north though. I don't yeah I don't remember exactly.
By the time I was a junior, they came to the South.
Oh, is that true? Really? Okay.
They wound up moving back to the South.
Okay. Well, yeah, just know that I don't think St. Mary's won a county championship. I can look it up, and one of the guys who I'm still friendly with on Facebook is Percy Anderson. I could just ask him, and he'll tell me. You know, his brother graduated high school with me. Craig graduated with me at Prep, but I don't think St. Mary's won a county championship. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I know the baseball team won the state championship pods last year as I might have been 74, 75, somewhere around there he won. But I don't remember St. Mary's winning a county championship in basketball. But anyway, that you definitely held that title, and obviously there were a few others down the road that they won county championships, but not so much. So you might have been the first, and I could always ask my good friend Tommy Lalicato, who does not want to be a guest on the podcast. I don't know why, but he would probably have stories galore. But he's reneging on it. So, all right, we'll be back with the second half with Pat Laguerre. Talk a little bit about his baseball experiences playing at St. Mary's and playing for Coach Hogan in 1 second, as we just got to give a word from our sponsors. And Stan Sports Center is your local full-service sporting goods vendor and authorized team dealer. They offer quality products and dozens of brands to outfit your team top to bottom. Stan's has proudly been supporting the local community since 1946 and is your one-stop shop for uniforms, equipment, online team stores, and much more. Locations in Hoboken and Saddlebrook and servicing the entire tri-state area. Visit them on the web at stanssportsctr.com. That's Stans plural, sports plural, ctr.com. And check them out on social media for their latest creations. And just as a reminder, tell my friends down at Stans, Danny and Lou and Todd, that you listen to the Hudson County Sports Podcast with Pat Laguerre, and you'll get 10% off on all retail that's in the store. That's not a bad deal. 10% off on all retail in the store if you mention the Hudson County Sports Podcast. That's Stan Sports Center, located at 528 Washington Street in Hoboken. Telephone number is 201-798-4466. And obviously, Pat Laguerre has been in Stan Sports Center a few times in his career, I would imagine, right?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they'll know who you are when you walk in the door, right?
Of course they do.
Okay, good. All right, so now you had a great basketball career. You were, I think, second team All County, but that's nothing to sneeze at, because that was a great county that you were playing basketball in. And like we mentioned, you had a guy who ended up being a first team NCAA All-American in David Rivers, was a part of that All-County team. But talk a little bit about now you go to your senior year in playing baseball, and what was it like to now play for Hogan as a baseball coach?
Well, believe it or not, I didn't play baseball my senior year because Mike went to St. Anthony. We went to a couple of coaches at St. Mary's. I just never felt the connection in regards to where we were going.
Oh, really?
When I first got there, Mike was the coach, and we were really, really good. I played with George Moman and those guys.
Right.
We were really tight-knit.
Which, by the way, in case you didn't know, George Moman is my cousin.
That's my man. I
See?
love George.
Yeah,
my guy, man. George took me under his wing when I was young, man. He showed me how to carry myself. George was a gentle giant, good guy. I had a lot of respect for George, man. He was part of the reason why I went to St. Mary.
Wow, okay.
He was always really good to me. I always looked up to him because he played varsity as a freshman and played for Pete Romano.
Yeah.
And George was a hell of a baseball player as well too.
Yeah.
Those guys just took their wing, and I really had a really good time. We really had
Okay. So, all right. So, by that point, did you already know that you were going to Jacksonville, or did you? I mean, there was no such thing as a signing period or anything like that. Did you give a verbal commitment to Coach Wenzel early on your senior year?
No, I didn't get my commitment and my verbal came after the season. It actually came in the summer. I wound up playing on a AAU team in Newark. We wound up eventually winning the AAU national championship that was being held down in Jacksonville, believe it or not.
Is that? Oh my God.
Yeah, and I always remember at the time there was another kid that was competing for that scholarship, and I always felt like I was on audition when I was down there, and I played pretty well. We were very, very good. And when I got back, I had the letter waiting for me at home, and I signed it. And that's pretty much how I got the Jackson. It didn't happen right away. It happened. I had to wait. But I felt confident that I was going to land somewhere that I was going to be happy.
Okay.
And
Well, waiting turned out to be a blessing for you. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, you end up going to Jacksonville, and you ended up playing right away. You didn't have to wait much to get on the floor, correct? And were you in Coach Wenzel's good graces to begin? And did he start you right away, or what was that like? Or did you have to? But
the normal adjustment from high school to college. I was fortunate to play with some tremendous athletes, the best athletes I've ever been exposed to in my life playing. We had a kid, Ronnie Murphy, who was 18, played picked in the draft.
yep.
He was a junior. We had Otis Smith, who got drafted by the Denver Nuggets in the second round, wound up being the GM of the Magic for about 4 or 5 years. We had a kid named Benny Pearson got drafted by Washington. So I really, was coming into a program that had some established players that NBA dreams were in position of getting drafted. So it took a little bit of time. We struggled. So I think Coach Wenzel had finally at one point just got frustrated with the kid who was running point at the time, inserted me, and I didn't do anything special, but we won the game, and you know how coaches we're funny like that. So, he started me again, and we wound up winning like 8 or 9, in a row, and all of a sudden, I was, a fixture in the starting lineup. That was the beginning.
Okay. And so that was the beginning, and you guys went on that run. And correct me if I'm wrong, you went to the NCAAs as a freshman?
We went to the NCAA tournament. We beat University of Alabama Birmingham in the Sun Belt Conference Championship, and we played the 8-9 game against Temple and Dayton, and we lost in overtime to John Chaney and his boys my freshman year.
Freshman year, but that was a good team. You guys, what, like 22-7, something like that?
Yeah, we had we cracked the top 25, USA top 25 at some point.
Right.
At the end of that year, so it was a really good basketball team. We got hot at the right moment, and we played some really good basketball. So.
Okay. Now, unfortunately, I think. Correct me about the time frame and all. Coach Wenzel had his accident, and
he actually had his brain aneurysm 2 years prior.
Oh, really? Oh, so he had his accident. He had his aneurysm before recruiting you. Oh, so he was healthy then by the time you got there.
Well, he was still coming back from it, but yeah, he had gone through the brain operation and the aneurysm, and that was about a year or 2 before.
Okay. And then when does he leave Jacksonville to come to Rutgers?
Well, he actually left us after my first year.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Oh, sorry, he left after my sophomore.
Okay.
So he left after my sophomore year. He actually went and coached with the Nets. He went and actually coached with the Nets. He was an assistant coach with the Nets for a year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and then he got the job at Rutgers. And, he actually coached a teammate of mine, Emory Ward, at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's how I met Jeff Van Gundy. I was always good friends with Ed Jordan, those guys. So, Coach Wenzel was really, really good to me.
Yeah, and a really good, really good guy. There's no question, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. So when he left to go coach the Nets, though, who took over in Jacksonville?
Rich
Rich Haddad. Right. Okay. And that's what I remember. He was the coach when I was the SID at St. Peter's, and we came down and played you.
That's right.
And we came down and played you, and it wasn't a pretty sight because you weren't the only guard on that Jacksonville team that was good. There was some other guy who could fly like no tomorrow, and that was D Brown, and he was. What was it like to play on the same team with him?
Well, it's funny when he first got to Jacksonville. I mean, skinny kid. He came from Lowell High School, and very, very confident kid. And we just looked at him. He used to tell us every night, he'd say, "Watch him play the NBA. Watch him play the NBA." I watched him, and there came a point in time where I said, "Wow, this kid is really, really, really good."
Yeah.
Really, really good. And he really matured and became an outstanding player. He worked really, really hard because we didn't make it easy for him.
Yeah.
When he got there, even though he was a local kid, we made it hard for him. He responded. He responded well. And the things that the confidence he had in himself showed. By the time when I graduated, I went back and I watched him play. Like, man, this kid is really on another level, and he's really going to do well.
He certainly did. He ended up having a great career with the Boston Celtics, and he must have played in the NBA for about 13, 14 years. So that's not a bad gig if you can get it to play that long in the NBA. I don't know. All right. So after college, was there any thought of you trying to pursue a professional career? Did you think about maybe going overseas? What was the thought process after you were done with school?
I thought about it. I had a couple of tryouts, but it wasn't anything. I really got discouraged with the way things were run in terms of overseas. The information that I had gotten, it was one of those things that you can get on one of these clubs, but it wasn't necessarily given that you're going to get paid.
Right.
So a lot of stories, and I knew I knew a lot of guys who played overseas. They were in positions where they needed money. I never felt that I had to play in conditions that I wasn't, comfortable in. And at the time, I had just got married. I was a young parent at the time. My wife and I were, trying to raise a son at the time and with the help of our parents. And I always remember, coming home and leaving, pretty much leaving all the responsibility to her and my parents. And they were great about it. So, I had decided at some point, after my senior year that this wasn't going to be my life. I wasn't going to go travel throughout the globe.
Okay.
$20,000. But, it was something that I still had a passion for. I still played. I played all the way up to, the age of 40 pretty much with a lot of my buddies. But there was some interest, but it wasn't something that I thought was going to be real, and it wasn't something that I would pursue on my heart.
Okay. All right. So you come back home, and what was it about coaching, and especially coaching baseball, that interested you, and not coaching basketball? What was it about baseball coaching baseball that interested you?
Well, Father got me involved in coaching baseball, and like everything else, they see something in you that you don't necessarily see.
Was it an aspiration of yours, Pat? Did you no?
Never an aspiration.
Okay. So how did it all come about?
Well, it was. One day, him and all these others decided, they asked me where I'd be willing to coach a start tomorrow team. And I said, okay, let me just go ahead and see how that goes. I was still pretty competitive at the time, and I actually enjoyed it. It's a little different from playing, but I had a good group of kids. I still remember those kids.
Okay.
We wound up having a really good experience that summer. And then, things just started to fall into place. I started doing that on a regular basis in the summertime. I really felt honored that Bob trusted me to run some of those programs that he had at the city, sponsored. And then, I caught a break. I became head baseball coach at St. Mary's. And that was always something I was extremely proud of because it was my alma mater. I could really relate to those kids, and all the things that they were going through.
Did Lalicato have you in mind to become the baseball coach there? Was that part of his plan? Was saying, hey, you know what, Pat, we want you to come back.
Well, I don't know if that was part of his plan. I think that it was something that fell in place once that position opened up. It was easy for them to keep it in house with me.
Okay. Were you already working there at the school full time or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I was working there, and I was actually coaching basketball, women's basketball at St. Peter's with Mike Brunell.
Aha.
Well, too. So, they knew that I would do anything to help out. So if that meant for me to coach baseball there, then I was going to do it. They knew that I was committed to doing that. So it was an easy transition for me. I wouldn't necessarily say it was part of the plan.
Okay.
They knew that I had other ambitions, and I was more focused on the basketball end of it. But
what was it like coaching with Grinelli?
oh man, those were great times, man. I tell people all the time, my best experience as a coach was coaching women's basketball, but coaching with Mike, coaching with Mike, Millicent, and Billy McKee. I mean, I never was an X and O guy until I watched Billy McKee literally just draw a play, sideline play, out of bounds play, stuff like that. Like Billy was just like fabulous. And these guys were, again, they were older guys, and I was like the sponge. I just literally listened to them. We had a good time. I always enjoyed, a couple of hours after the game down at the Honey, at those places. My wife would never understand that because but I really, really enjoyed it. Those guys they really inspired me to coach.
Okay.
I wasn't an organized guy. I was one of those guys who was still ripping and running, playing basketball and, in all these different leagues, running around. But I watched these guys, and I always remember what Mike Brunelli told me, and it's still sticking in my head now. And I remember he had a tape for me to break down, and I totally forgot all about it. And he asked me to implement it in doing one of our practices. And I said, Mike, I'll be back. And I literally ran home. I got back. He's like, okay, so now you're going to tell me that you never watched the tape. But like, I can't lie. I didn't watch the tape. He was back. I would never hire somebody if I didn't have faith that they could do what they were doing. Why would I want to have you here and not take advantage of the knowledge? And when he said that to me, I felt guilty, and I promised that I would never not be prepared in anything that I did. And those words still stick in my head every time. I prepare for another school or prepare to do something. It really changed my life in regards to how I looked at myself as a coach going forward.
Well, that's a great story. I hate to say it's about one of my best friends in the world, but what can I say? I mean, I'll call him later and tell him that you said those words about him. See, I don't want to inflate his head any more than what it is, but I will. I'll call him and let him know that you were talking that well about him.
Mike and Billy were by far, and like I said, Tommy Malacado was excellent in my high school career. But those two guys, Billy was so successful in high school himself, and Mike won a ridiculous amount of games. Those guys, and man, I just looked up to them, and I really just wanted to be just like them. Because Mike's one of those guys. He has a good time, funny guy. I had just as much fun off the court as I had fun with those guys. Here I am, 30-year-old guy running around with guys 60, 70 years old, and it was the best time of my life as a coach. I really give them all the credit for really, molding me into wanting to become a coach and wanting to have an impact on young people's lives.
Well, I'm going to tell you this story, and I don't know if he ever related to you, but maybe the beginning of the end of him being the women's basketball coach at St. Peter's happened when they eliminated your position. And he was livid. He was about as angry as a human being can be because it came out of nowhere. There was no warning to it. They just boom. They said, "Okay, you've got to eliminate one of your coaching positions." And like he was like stunned. Like, how am I going to eliminate one of the three that I got? I got a great, I got a great team, and he was so absolutely angry, and I think that may have been the fuel that sparked the fire to him losing a little bit of that loyalty that he had to that place because it was really he really felt like he was a part of that of the family, and that losing you um, made him lose a little bit of that family atmosphere that he had, and I know for a fact that I don't think he ever recovered from it. So that's how much he respected you and cared about you. So, all right. So talk a little bit about now coaching. You get a chance to coach the baseball team in your alma mater, and what was that like? I mean, like you say, okay, I'm prepared. I'm ready to go. You were already over 30 at that point, right?
Well, like I said, the organization part of it, I wasn't very good at. And after years with Mike and Billy, I was able to become a lot more organized. Preparation became part of my routine. And when I got to St. Mary's, my goal was to instill pride into our kids because I always felt we were the jewel of the city that no one really knew about, but we knew exactly what we had, and it was something that was really special. Even though we were a small school, I thought our basketball program was very competitive. I thought our baseball program was very talented.
And at that time, you were already an assistant basketball. Oh no, you were working at St. Peter's. Take it back. I apologize. Okay, go
Well,
ahead.
after that happened at St. Peter's, that's when I became the head coach at St. Mary's. Because it was one of those things like everything just fell into place once I had to leave
Oh,
St.
so you
Peter's.
didn't do both. You didn't do both at the same time. You were.
No, when I was at St. Peter's, I actually coached Stars of Tomorrow in the summertime.
Okay.
I used to have during the dead period, I used to promise Father I would do Stars of Tomorrow. But then when I was no longer at St. Peter's, it might have been a month or so later where it was opening at St. Mary's for the baseball job, and of course it was a natural fit. They thought I could do a good job with it. I looked forward to it. I was excited about it. I was honored to be asked. I was honored to lead these young men who I knew very well. I knew them. My first class. I mean, the first year was kind of rough. There was kids that didn't need to be on the team, and things happened. And it was really rough. But they understood where I came from. They understood what I was trying to accomplish. They knew that I was going to be a no nonsense guy, but I was also going to be a person that understood and related to what they went through because I was no different. My upbringing was no different than theirs. But I
Right.
knew that there had to be a little discipline that needed to happen, and accountability and commitment because I really just wanted them to have an opportunity to be just good young men. I never preached that they were going to be Division One baseball players or pro players. That was never my goal. I never talked to them in that manner. I just wanted them to be professional people who were going to be, hold down a job and be good examples to their kids and be good husbands and fathers and stuff like that. And that's how I always coached them, and sometimes I coached them hard.
Okay.
Just like I was coached. But they respected that, and I see a lot of them, in the city now, they're police officers, firemen. They're great examples, of what we were able to produce at St. Mary's, and I'm extremely proud of that.
Without question. But more importantly too, Pat, you didn't waste any time. You guys started to win right away when you became the coach. And how good of a feeling was that you were not only molding young men, but you were also molding them into winners?
Yeah, well, you know what? I always knew that they could win. I always felt that they had the talent. I just felt that they needed a chance and an opportunity, and it takes time. We needed to learn how to walk. I mean, we need to learn how to crawl first, then we need to learn how to walk, and then when we learn how to walk, we need to learn how to run. And the beauty of St. Mary's is that my kids were never afraid. It didn't matter who we were playing against. They just loved the opportunity to play. And I knew every morning when I got up, You know what I mean? With real issues. And I'm proud that I played a significant role in their success. But my success was their success.
Okay.
And their accomplishments really, I benefited from that. But I tell you what, there's no way that I'm the coach that I am now without having experience.
Okay, so how many years were you able to be the head coach at St. Mary's?
You know what, Jim? I always get confused with those numbers. Like, I'm not a big numbers guy.
Yeah, I know.
I want to say I was there 15 years.
Okay.
Something like that. I want to say that, but I don't know for sure.
It could be. I'd have to look it up and see exactly. But through that, you won what? 5 county championships? I'm guessing.
I was always a bridesmaid. I think I won one.
Oh, that's right. Okay. You're right. Well, you won. I remember now. You won 1. That's right.
Yeah, when the league split into Seglio and Coviello, we won 1.
Right. Okay.
We had been to like 5 county championships. I think we lost the Hoboken 3 times.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what, there was maybe one county championship game where I felt that we might have been the better team. But the one thing I could say about my kids at St. Mary's, while we were disappointed at those losses, we were very grateful and we were happy for those opportunities to have an opportunity to play in front of so many people. And it gave them validation.
Yep.
I used to tell them all the time, listen guys, don't ever listen to people when you're only 2 people standing and you're playing for a championship, because there's no losers on the field, because it takes a lot of work to be the last 2 standing. So whoever outside that gate says anything, regardless of what the outcome is, just understand what it took to get here. And this validates how good you are. I no longer have to say to you, I think we're good, I think we're good. I think you now know that we're good. I think that was the most gratifying of everything, is that I was able to instill that they could really achieve and be successful if they worked hard and believed in what we were trying to do.
Okay. Now, at that point, Pat, you did not aspire to go anywhere else. You were very content being the head coach and doing what you were doing at St. Mary's. You did not care about being anywhere else, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
I would not have left St. Mary's if St. Mary's doors were still open.
Right.
That was my calling. I believed in it. I believed in our mission. I believed in our kids. I didn't want to go anywhere. And I had opportunities to do that.
Of course.
But I just really believed that that's where I was meant to be.
All right. So with that in mind, when the Archdiocese decides that they're going to close St. Mary's forever, well, that must have been like a kick in the gut to you, right?
Oh, well, by that time I had a pretty good idea of what was happening.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it kind of allowed me to prepare for that. I was disappointed.
Now, did your son already graduate by that point? Was he already gone?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, my son was already gone.
Okay.
My wife was the cheerleading coach for many years as well, so it was a family affair for us.
Yep.
It was very disappointing, but I knew that it wasn't the end of the world. I just had to pretty much dust myself off and see where I could land, a good landing spot. I got a couple opportunities. I got a couple of offers. Terry Matthews, fabulous. He offered me an opportunity to coach women's basketball at Hudson Catholic as a new program. And I always remember the conversation I had with him. I said, Terry, listen, I'm getting too old to start a new program and get me by 60. I don't know if I have to. And I remember Bob Merton had wanted me to come on staff. And they had a young basketball coach at the time. They couldn't offer me a full-time job. Then one day, I got a call from Rich Hansen. He called me and he said, Coach, you have a few minutes.
Did you know him well at all at that point?
In passing,
Yeah.
But I had a lot of respect for Rich. I always used to tease my assistant coaches and say, wow, would it be nice to go to press? It'd be great. We can go, we can travel, we can do all these other things. Don't have to worry about selling candy.
Yep.
We can do this and do that. It was always my dream. Like, if I had one school to end my coaching career, where would it be? And I'd say press.
Yeah.
It'd be a quick response all the time, because I had a lot of respect for Joe Banovich. Joe Banovich was a guy I consider a mentor of mine. He never had to play me in those years, but he always did.
Yep.
Sense of humor was great. We didn't know Joe, he come away with this impression, but he wasn't like that, and we still have a really good relationship today. And I said, what? So we and I talked, and I never took it serious that this was, that this could possibly happen. So I just told him how I felt, and what my perception of the program was at the time. And then we met again. I remember going home one night, and I said, if I don't know any better, I think I'll get there. What do you think so? I don't know. This doesn't sound like some consultation. It sounds like it sounds like an interview. But, what do I know? And then Rich called me back, and he was up front and times. And I have a lot of respect for Rich because he's all the things that that I've always aspired to be.
Yep.
Tough guy with passion and a drive, and tough upbringing, and overcoming all of that to put himself in a situation to really mold young men. I had a lot of respect for Rich. He gave me an opportunity. Even though it wasn't ideal, I trusted that he was the man of his word, and I took a chance. And it's worked out pretty well.
All right. And what's it like for you to be coaching now and helping to establish? I mean, that program was well established before you got there, but since you've been there, you're perennially amongst the top 20 teams in the state, and once again, I would imagine this year you're going to be that way again once we start playing in a couple of weeks. What's it like to be at a school like St. Peter's Prep and coaching this program that is so highly respected and highly regarded?
Well, I just wanted to bring the tradition back the way Joe had it. I'm honored and blessed that they would think that highly of me, that I could be the person chosen to guide the program. I had certain goals. I had certain things that I wanted that I knew had to be put in place. And I knew that there would be talent, but we all know that talent doesn't necessarily, equal success.
Right.
So I knew that I would get a different type of kid. My biggest adjustment is that I wasn't all things to these young men. They didn't need a father figure. The kids I had in St. Mary's, often they were single parent, just single parent homes. That wasn't the case here, so I had an adjustment period that I had to go through to understand where I fit in. But again, I'm the beneficiary of some really great kids who really bought in, and I've been able to keep my buddies as my assistant coaches, which is another big part of why we've been very successful. Is that we have great chemistry amongst our coaching staff. Our players really take the lead. They know what we expect. We determine what the expectations are. We don't let others determine that for us. And they bought in, and my parents have bought in this program. And that's been the reason why we've been very, very successful. And similarly to the way, the boys at St. Mary's were, these kids buy in. We don't get caught up into who we're supposed to lose to. We're supposed to be this, we're supposed to be that. We just go out and compete.
Okay.
And we know that, and we accept our fate, good or bad, and we know that, you have to do the best you can and work as hard as you can. You got to be held accountable. And, they understand it, they accept it, and that was one of the foundations that I felt that needed to be done for us to ever move forward and be successful. And I'm very proud of what we've done, but we still have a lot of work to build up in front of us, especially now, losing a year from last year.
All right, talk a little bit about that. How difficult was that to go through, knowing fully well that the whole season was canceled?
Well, you feel really bad for the boys, especially the seniors, because this was their last hurrah. You know all the sacrifices and the hard work that they put into the whole thing. But the beauty of these young men is that they understand the moment. Disappointment doesn't turn into anger, and that's one of the things I'm extremely proud of. We don't point fingers when we don't get things done. We're disappointed, but we understand, and we take an analytical approach to how
Okay.
While I was very disappointed, we were very disappointed. We knew it was the right call. We knew it was the right call, and we were able to accept it. Luckily for us, Mike Murray and hundreds of coaches around the state were able to get together and put the last dance tournament together.
Yep.
While it didn't replace the season, it sure gave us an opportunity to come back together. I thank Joe Doran for coaching the team this summer. Those guys did a great job. He does a great job. He is the prep alumni. He does a great job with the whole program.
Yep.
He did a great job this summer. So it was exciting to watch those kids go out and play. And he played well.
Absolutely.
So it was good. It was something positive out of a really bad situation that we were able to get. And I was very happy for the boys that they had an opportunity to play at least 4 or 5 games together.
All right.
Considering what they had experienced before that.
All right. You talk about bad situations. I'm guessing it's 3 years ago now, maybe 4. You received the word that you had a heart attack, and how much did that change Pat Laguerre?
I received the word.
You received the word. What did you grab? Did you grab your chest? Did you like I thought you went to get a stress test, and they told you had a heart attack. No.
But believe it or not, it was. I had all these warning signs. You know how you are as a man, you just ignore them, just tough it out. But I had warning signs for quite a while that I just ignored. And, I'll never forget it was on Valentine's Day. My wife and I were down in Atlantic City, and we're downstairs. I'm just not feeling well. I'm like, okay, let's just go upstairs. I'm watching the 3-point shooting contest. This is all NBA All-Star Weekend, and I'm just not feeling right. All of a sudden, I got nauseous and I started throwing up. Now my wife's concerned. It was a whole ordeal, and I get into a cab. There's a blizzard outside. I mean, this was just like a cascade of ridiculous events that are happening. And I'm sitting there saying, this would be just my luck that I dropped dead right here.
Oh, jeez.
I don't even know what's going on. So I knew it wasn't good. I got in there. All of these things, began to happen. The doctor comes in, says to me, you're having a heart attack.
How many years ago was this, Pat? 4?
2016.
Yeah. Okay. 5 years ago. Okay.
Yeah. So he's telling me, you're having a heart attack. Fortunately, we're not equipped to take care of you. You have to go to the regional hospital. But then blizzard outside. It's going to take about an hour or 2 for them to get here.
Oh my God! An hour or 2 to get there. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and I never really understood the gravity of the moment until they finally transferred me over. The doctor, the cardiologist comes from my house, and she's like, "You're a lucky man because my husband would have let me come out because the weather was so bad." They take me in, they do the procedure. It felt like it was 15 minutes. I come out, and my wife is in tears, and I'm like, "Babe, what's the matter?" She's like, "Oh, the nurse came by, and she says, oh, your husband had the widowmaker." And I'm like, "What is that?" She goes, "Well, the widowmaker is what you just had, but like people don't necessarily come through with that." So when they said that, I said, "Okay, I guess it was more serious than I had before."
Okay.
But I'll tell you what, it was one of those things that it was a wake up call. You know how we are as athletes. We don't eat right.
Yep.
We don't get enough rest. We always think we're indestructible. But again, it was something that was negative that actually turned into a positive.
But you did not have open heart surgery, though, right? You didn't need it. No. Thank God. Right?
Thank God. Yeah, thank God. It could have been a lot.
Just an angioplasty, or just your heart itself attacked? That's all, right?
They turned a stent.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was, it was something that if I didn't go to the hospital that night, I highly doubt I would have woke up in the morning.
Wow.
Put it that way.
Oh. Well, thank God you did wake up in the morning and you're still here. So let's give credit where credit is due. Your wonderful wife is Sandy, and how long have the two of you been married, and how many children do you have?
Okay, well, I hope she's not listening right now, because I always get that one wrong. How many years have been married?
Uh-oh.
Probably about 34.
Okay.
I think it's 34.
And your wife is the athletic director at the Union City High School, so you know you.
She's the small one in the house.
All right.
Brilliant one in the house. So I'm very proud of her. She does. She really does a whole lot. And, and she's the one that makes a lot of sacrifices that allows me to do the things that I do.
Okay.
And has been extremely supportive of everything that I've done. So,
All right. And how many children?
2 kids. I have a son who's 35.
Oh my God, he's 35. He's 35.
Police officer at Wade Patterson now. My daughter's at 29. She works at Starnes Hospital. So they've done well for themselves.
Okay.
And they'll continue to do well. So
Your son is 35. Your son is 35. That makes me feel like I'm about 105. You know, I mean, you see him every day. Last thing I remember him is playing left field for St. Mary's and being athlete of the week. You know, that's a long time ago. So
that's a while back.
that's a while back. Okay. All right. So all you know first of all, before we sum it up, okay, how much are you looking forward to this baseball season? Considering A, you missed out last year, and B, you've got a very good team coming back, and you got to have a lot to look forward to and play for, right?
I tell you what, if you lose a year, you look back and your priorities change. As competitive as I am, I'm just very grateful that our kids are going to have an opportunity to get back out there and play a game that they, really put in a lot of work and sacrifice to do. I mean, there's no guarantee that how things won't be disrupted. But the fact that and I have to commend the state. I think the state has done a tremendous job of making sure that our student athletes have an opportunity to compete.
Yep.
They gave us everything that we lost in terms of games, no restrictions, no limitations. State tournament, county tournament. So, I really feel good that everybody has come together and realized that our young men have lost a lot, and they've really gone above and beyond to try to get them, back what they lost. And I'm really, really excited about it. So, regardless of how the season turns out, this is one of the years that I'm going to be really grateful, considering all that's happened. Grateful to have an opportunity to play, to participate in the kids' sport, and watch our young men grow and compete.
And more importantly, you look really good. The last 2 times I saw you, it's like you turned the clock back about 35 years because you look like you could go back out there and play again. And you've lost a considerable amount of weight, and you look like you're in really, really good shape. So I guess you've done a good job of watching the diet and keeping the weight off.
No, I'm still pretty bad. Grab and go on the hustle. You know what it's like, baby.
Absolutely.
You got to grab something here. You got to do this over here. Your wife is yelling at you saying you got to sit down. You got to eat. Can't do this. But we get caught into that rut. Not enough hours in the day. I would love to sit there and say to you that I made the best choice. I don't.
Okay.
But I'm a true believer that, regardless, you still have to live. There's certain things that I like to do. I still enjoy having my beer. I still love having, beers with my coaches, and my buddies. I cherish those moments. So, my doctor might not always necessarily be happy with me, but I keep him in business because I see him quite often.
Well, I can't have the beer anymore, so that's the sad part about having the surgery that I had. So, but I'm still here on the planet. That's the most important thing. So I mean, most important thing. And hopefully the Mets will reward us both this year with a World Series. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
That would be unbelievable. But that's some division we're playing in there.
And it is, but it's something that the two of us, come October, we could be like hugging and kissing each other, saying, "We got ourselves a World Series here title." So and there's very few of us. There's very few of us left, though. It's me, you, and Ronnie Hayward against the world. That's all. There's nobody else that's a Met fan.
That would be great.
Absolutely.
That would be awesome. I would love to see the Crown get one.
Oh, he deserves it. Yeah, he deserves it. There's no question. All right, so to sum this all up, here you are, a little boy coming from Haiti, and you come to a new world and you come to the United States, would you ever dream that you'd have the opportunity that you've had through sports, being both an athlete and as now a longtime coach?
Absolutely not. I never envisioned my life turning out the way it did. I never thought that I would experience the things that I've been able to experience. I never thought that I would come across people who have been so influential in my life. I never thought that I would have a set of friends that I have, make connections with people that have been lasting. You're a perfect example of that. From me being a kid, knowing you, and now as an adult knowing you, it's just an example of how my life has turned out. But I never, in my wildest dreams, thought that I would be in a position I'm in right now, and having an impact on young men, and them having an impact on me, and having a beautiful family. My mom and dad, thank God, are still here.
God bless.
So, I feel very blessed. I really do. And this whole COVID thing has really put things in context, put things in proper perspective to me. I'm always concerned. I'm involved with coaching.
Yep.
Focus on all the negatives and all the things that go wrong. I've changed that mentality. I'm going to focus a lot more on good things. I think that kids need to hear that. I think that we as adults need to hear that, especially experiencing what we've experienced over the last year.
Yep.
So it's really forced me to reflect and become extremely appreciative of all the things that I've been blessed to have, and be blessed, and the people that have been blessed to know.
Yep.
I think that's even more important.
Well, and we've been blessed to have you as a friend, Pat, because you're an absolute credit to the young men that get a chance to play for you, but more importantly, all those years that you served as a volunteer coach, coaching the Stars of Tomorrow, and then in the Sharks program, and doing all you did to just help mold young men. And you've been an absolute joy to consider as being a friend and somebody I've watched very close over the years. And I'm really glad you had a chance today to tell your story with me. So, Pat, thanks so very much for sharing this hour and 20 minutes with me. And I hopefully I will see you very shortly. I'll say it again, very shortly at one of your practices or whatever, and we could sit and talk and laugh. So, but I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, Pat.
Thank you for having me on.
All right, no problem. That was Pat Laguerre, ladies and gentlemen, the head baseball coach at St. Peter's Prep, who had come up from a humble background, growing up as a boy who came here from Haiti, and ended up being head coach of one of the greatest programs in the state of New Jersey right now. It's quite a remarkable story. Thank you very much for listening to today's podcast. Don't forget that the Hudson County Sports Podcast is brought to you every week by Stan Sports Center, located at 528 Washington Street in Hoboken. The telephone number there is 201-798-4466. And just remember that Stan Sports Center is your local full-service sporting goods vendor and authorized team dealer. They offer quality products and dozens of brands to outfit your team top to bottom. Stan's has proudly been supporting the local community since 1946 and is your one-stop shop for uniforms, equipment, online team stores, and much more. Locations in Saddlebrook and Hoboken and Saddlebrook, and servicing the entire tri-state area. Visit them on the web at Stan's Sports, that's Stan's plural, Sports plural, CTR.com. Stan's Sports, CTR.com, and check them out on social media for their latest creations. Stan Sports Center, located at 528 Washington Street, Hoboken. Telephone number 201-798-4466. And mention the Hudson County Sports Podcast, and you'll get a 10% discount on all retail in the store. Thanks again for listening to the Hudson County Sports Podcast this week. My special thanks to my executive producer, Johnny Haig, who without him this would not have happened. And we'll be back with another edition in the future. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.